Good morning. Sorry I am late. I'm trying to not hack up a lung while I'm talking to you. So, welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance for this fine Thursday. And very London-like out there. Foggy and just kind of misty. So, hope you're having a good day, whatever amount of day you've already accomplished. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist. Good morning, Mel. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. We'll see how many others can find me today. Seems as though Facebook has been cleverly hiding me. And good morning to whomever else has popped on. I see the number, but I don't see a name, so glad you're here. Cindy. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We have a cool card today, and I'm thinking we're going to be doing cards for a bit here until I reclaim a voice, because trying to read a chapter and discuss it right at this point would be pretty miserable. Good morning, Beth. Glad you're here. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome, welcome. So good. We get a whole gang going on here. This is awesome. And the card for today, I think, is going to be a really cool one for us to put into practice. So, one of my favorite decks, Nature Portals deck, Bruce and Carol Malner. And our card is a hawk. And look at that eye. That is quite the intense look, don't you think? And so we are going to be practicing our intense look, and from a variety of perspectives. So I'd like you to take a couple of nice deep breaths. I'm not going to, because it will set off waves of coughing that will sound like a Canada goose. For those of you who've been concerned, I am feeling much better. I just still sound awful. But at least I have a voice. I mean, there was a day or two there where it was pretty hit or miss on that also. So our card is Broaden Your Perspective. Broaden Your Perspective. So let's see what it has to tell us. So just settling in, feeling your heart chakra spin open, ready to receive whatever part of this information is in your highest and best good, ready to put that information into practice in your daily life, and willing to notice how that affords you change, headed in a good direction. Broaden your perspective. A hawk's keen vision is legendary. It can see from a great height, which gives it an all-encompassing view. It also has the ability to home in on the smallest detail, so macro and micro. And that's kind of what I'm going to suggest we practice today with regard to some specific things that we'll talk about. Use your hawk eyes to give your attention to one natural object. Okay, so in your environment right now, you probably have something that's a natural object. If you're like me, you have 8,000 rocks. Not room for any of the things that need to be on your desk, but all the rocks made it, right? So but just pick out a natural object somewhere near you, plant, whatever you've got, and use your hawk eyes to give your attention to that natural object. Notice something that others might miss. So what do you see in that object that others might not see just looking with their mundane, everyday 3D eyes? Then imagine that you're soaring way above that scene. How does your object appear different from that vantage point? So when you put it, good morning, Joe, into a much bigger perspective, how does your view of that object change? How does putting it into that broader context make it look different? And it doesn't just have to be looking different. You may experience it differently. The energy of it may be different when you're from that macro perspective instead of the micro. But you're just kind of experimenting with it. When you're messing around looking at something from a variety of perspectives, what changes? And then here's the question for us to ponder for today. What might I realize if I used hawk eyes to see all of life from a broader perspective? So that's what we're going to do in a moment. But I want to share the quote by no less than Stephen Hawking. How perfect is that? I believe everyone should have a broad picture of how the universe operates and our place in it. It is a basic human desire, and it also puts our worries in perspective. And I think we can be less cavalier about messing things up when we take that broader perspective. So, what I want you to do is I want you to think about an area in your life that's troublesome right now. There's something going on. There's something that you're not quite sure how you want to address. There's something that's just kind of off of plumb. It's not, maybe not dreadful, but it's not quite up to par. It could be your job. It could be your relationship. It could be your physical well-being. Lots of options. So but just pick one. Okay? Excuse me. And now we're going to look at that from a couple different perspectives. So I'd like you to close your eyes. And I want you to see that circumstance, that person, that situation, that thing, whatever it is. And it's going to be, you're going to be looking at it as if you're examining it under a microscope. You can see every little dot and tittle of that thing. And you're turning it over, the situation, the circumstance, the person, the thing, the object, the house situation, whatever it is, you're turning it over under that microscope, looking at it from every single angle so that every single angle sees the light of day. So just do that, getting a very detailed micro view of whatever that is. Just be curious, just observe. Almost like I'm remembering being in junior high and we had to put onion skins under the microscope and examine it from all different directions and describe what we saw and draw pictures. So we're doing that with this thing in your life. Examining it from all different angles, up close and personal. Now what I want you to do is step back. Literally and figuratively, step back from that thing that you've just examined up close and personal and do it from about a 10-foot distance and circle around it. And not just around it horizontally, but up around the top too. So you're going to get a top view, a bottom view, all the directions. What do you notice from those different perspectives? I certainly hope you notice some different things when you're looking underneath it than when you're looking down from the top. And again, this can be a situation, a circumstance, a person, a thing, something that happened, something that isn't working for you on your desk, in your home, wherever, a relationship. And now just in your mind, compare how that up close and personal view, under the microscope view, differs in some interesting ways from that 10 feet at a distance view. What does that new view afford you? Now, I want you to imagine that you're floating out in space. You're at a great distance from this thing. Situation, circumstance, person, whatever it is. And I want you to kind of circle around it. It's as if you're floating in space. Circle around it from a great distance. You can see much more of the context now. It's putting in that bigger picture. It's broadening your perspective. What do you see from this perspective? Floating around it at a great distance. You may feel far more emotional detachment from it at this great distance. That's cool. Notice whatever you can notice from this at a distance perspective. Now I want you to settle back down onto Earth. And I want you to ponder something. I want you to take a little walk. Wherever you are, take a little walk. You're out in nature. Could be in town, doesn't matter. But there's trees, there's birds, whatever. Take a little walk in nature. And as you're walking, interesting, the image that's coming to me is kind of like when you're stirring individual ingredients together to make a recipe and it begins to come together. I want you to stir together that micro perspective that you took first, the 10 feet at a distance perspective, and the way out in space perspective. Stir those together. See how they begin to meld and blend and come together into something that they weren't as the individual perspectives. And from this perspective, that amalgam of all the others, what do you know? What do you learn? What do you discern? What comes into the light from this perspective? So now you've worked this thing over in 4 different ways. Any insights? Any ahas? Any any things that can help you move your circumstance forward, make some different choices about it, perceive it differently, which is then going to have an influence on it, right? I'll give you, for instance, there. If you're viewing something as absolutely broken, unfixable, nothing to be done about it, irritating as heck, whatever, and now from these multiple perspectives come to a place of, it is what it is, your energy toward that changes. That influences that thing in some way. In some way. Might just make it more benign. That's an okay thing. What did you learn from doing this? How could you use this in your daily life with regard to other situations, circumstances, people, etc.? I think there's so much to be gleaned when we broaden our perspective, when we look at it from all these different points of view. And does it take a little time to do that? Yeah. Is it worth the investment? You tell me. You tell me. If it opens up your hawk-eyes and gives you an entirely different perspective that allows you to change something and either have that situation resolve or become much less of a thorn in your side, fabulous, right? So I'm going to let you look at that hawkeye again. Very piercing, right? So your mission for today, should you choose to accept it, is to practice using your hawkeyes on circumstances, situations, people, events, whatever it is, and see what you can learn from those various perspectives, including the one where you put everything together, wanting to not feel disappointed about ending a confusing relationship. Yes, yes, yes. The thing also about hawkeyes is it gives you, what do I want to say? A platform on which to stand when you're making decisions. So it's not the knee-jerk reaction of, I want to keep giving this person the benefit of the doubt, or I hate ending relationships, or whatever it is. But it can be more of that solid, planted, yeah, this just isn't working. This isn't working. I need to honor that for me. I need to honor that for the other person. I need to make that change. Also, the piece about the broader perspective that I really like is how many times when we're on the front end of making a decision do we agonize about it and postpone it and put it off, etc. And after we make it, shortly thereafter, something opens up. And we look back and we go, why didn't I decide that sooner? But it was because we were on that front end looking from a particular perspective that didn't afford us this kind of a perspective. But we have this within us. We always have this within us. My question with that always is, what are you pretending not to know? What are you pretending not to know? On a soul level, we know like we know like we know. Can we honor that? Can we listen to that? All right, so there. Sending you lots of love and hugs, Lisa. This is one of those, this is life. This is one of those life circumstances that crops up repeatedly sometimes for people, and we have to find a way to look at it that doesn't condemn us, doesn't condemn the other person, but allows the freedom to move on when that's what's called for. When that's what's called for. So, everybody, one more nice deep breath in and out. Know that you're capable of far more than you think you are. Know that your perspective can be broadened anytime you choose to do so. Know that trying on these different perspectives can be very helpful in terms of making difficult decisions. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.